After Money in the Bank, one of the hottest topics about the show is the cash-in from Drew McIntyre. There seems to be a big split opinion of whether or not this was a good or bad cash-in on the internet. People on Twitter have been debating nonstop ever since it took place. Some people are going as far as saying that this was the worst cash-in in WWE history and the worst booking decision that Triple H has ever made. I'm not going to go that far with it, but I kind of am on the side that I'm not a big fan of this cash-in. In fact, I did not want Drew McIntyre to win this match at all, the Money in the Bank ladder match that is, because the second that he won that match, it was completely obvious what was going to happen. Not that he was going to cash in, but my issue is that we knew that when he did cash in, that CM Punk was going to cost him the Money in the Bank briefcase, that he was going to be a failed Money in the Bank winner, and this was only going to be just to further their storyline. And my problem with it is that their storyline as it is already so good that it did not need this. And yes, it does further their story. Yes, it does. I understand. But it wasn't necessary, and it just wasted Money in the Bank. And if there's any other evidence that this was not meant to happen in the universe, that this should have not happened, it's the fact that this moment was even botched when Damian Priest did not kick out of the 3 count. But I'm not going to blame Priest for that moment, because I think that what happened there was that there was a miscue of the music, that at the 2 count, Drew McIntyre's music was supposed to play then, and that's why Damian did not kick out, because he was just expecting to hear Drew's music play as it was supposed to. But besides that, the moment, the way they booked it was pretty good. It was as good as it could have been, but at the same time, I just felt like as good as it was not necessary for their storyline to risk a whole year of some other possible interesting stories that could have been told with the Money in the Bank briefcase. The entire time, I was rooting so hard for Jey Uso to win that briefcase, because I'm sure he at some point will get involved in the Bloodline storyline, but he could still be Mr. Money in the Bank or even the World Heavyweight Champion while being involved in that storyline. Jey Uso right now is without a doubt the most popular superstar on Monday Night Raw, and I think it would have been a great time to capitalize on his momentum that he has right now. The threat of Jey Uso lingering over the next few months while Gunther is the World Heavyweight Champion, because obviously he's going to beat Damian Priest, that would have been a little bit more interesting, but I'm off that. Back to the Drew situation though, another thing that somebody brought up was the idea or the fact that not only CM Punk cost Drew McIntyre his Money in the Bank briefcase, but he also cost Seth Rollins the opportunity to fight for the World Heavyweight Championship as long as Damian Priest is the champion, which I think is only going to be 1 more month, so that's not a big deal at all. But regardless, that furthers CM Punk's and Seth's storyline as well. So from that point of view, that's why I don't completely shit on the fact that this happened, because there were some good story beats that were integrated by this happening that we will see play out in the future. However, I still don't think that any of it was completely necessary, because both storylines between CM Punk and Drew and Punk and Seth were going to cook regardless. After all this went down, we saw Drew McIntyre blow up backstage, and he even put his hands on Adam Pearce, which led to the update that Adam Pearce put on Instagram recently, saying that Drew McIntyre is suspended indefinitely.
And then the elephant in the room. Everybody saw what happened at Money in the Bank and after. As a result, after careful consideration, I am hereby fining both CM Punk and Drew McIntyre an undisclosed amount for their actions. Furthermore, due to putting his elbow squarely in my teeth, I am hereby officially suspending Drew McIntyre indefinitely.
Now, as far as what this means for a Drew McIntyre and CM Punk match at SummerSlam, I'm of the belief that maybe CM Punk will return on Raw and challenge Drew to a match at SummerSlam. Maybe he will advocate for Drew to not be suspended so that they can have this match. Or maybe simply Drew just doesn't show up until SummerSlam. So as far as the status of this cash-in, whether or not this is the worst cash-in of all time, I'm going to hardly disagree with the IWC from this point of view, because there are way worse cash-ins that have happened. Even recently, the Baron Corbin cash-in from 2017, that was way worse than this. Damien Sandow in 2013 definitely was worse than Drew McIntyre's. And of course, the worst one of them all Austin Theory's failed cash-in on Seth Rollins in the United States Championship was by far the worst cash-in in history. So maybe there's a bit of recency bias as to why everybody's saying that this one was the worst, but come on, there are even ones that I didn't even mention here that were worse than this. I would say that this cash-in ranks near the John Cena cash-in on Raw 1000 back in 2012 because both were used to further a storyline and were executed well, although I don't like either of them because they were both waste of the Money in the Bank briefcase. They still further the storyline, so I'm not going to go as far as saying that this was a terrible decision. Now really quickly, let's run down what else happened on this show. On the women's side, we saw that the new Mrs. Money in the Bank is Tiffany Stratton. I've seen people go as far as saying that this was the best Money in the Bank ladder match ever. I don't know if I was tripping or not, but did we watch the same match? Because although this match was good, the best ever? Are you serious? There's a lot of recency bias going on with this pay-per-view because what are y'all talking about? Maybe I should rewatch it. Maybe I'm the one that's tripping, but no. My pick going into this match was between Chelsea Green and Tiffany, and I was a little bit in favor of Chelsea, but Tiffany is an excellent Miss Money in the Bank, and I think that she will cash in very soon as the SummerSlam match between Nia Jax and Bayley, maybe during or after that match, because we've seen the alliance of Tiffany and Nia Jax on SmackDown recently, so something about the connection between the two women will lead to Tiffany successfully cashing in at SummerSlam. The Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker finally got an update to his awful theme song, which now has lyrics and sounds a million times better than it did before. Well, anything maybe would have sounded better than it did before, but I'm digging it. As far as the match goes, I thought that there would for sure be some interference that would lead to Braun Breaker losing this match, but instead they went the route of having him lose cleanly to Sami Zayn, and that shocked me. The match itself was decent. It was pretty good for Braun Breaker's first one-on-one pay-per-view match, but besides that, there's not much to say here. He lost to one Helluva Kick, and that got the job done. And honestly, I am not in favor of that. I thought that Braun Breaker should have been protected a little bit more, had some sort of interference or something happen, but hey, it was still a pretty good match, so I don't have too much to complain about besides that. And the last match that I want to talk about is the main event of the Bloodline versus Team Cody, Randy, and KO. It was a pretty solid main event, 24-25 minute tag team match. It wasn't anything that was too special. In fact, to be honest, the only thing that I really remember is the fact that one of the Tonga brothers botched the low blow and had to do it twice. This was a pretty botchy PLE. Still a good one, but there were some noticeable botches. But the main thing to talk about in this match is the ending, with Solo Sikoa successfully pinning Cody Rhodes, which will inevitably lead to their match for the undisputed WWE Championship at SummerSlam. The same man that was recently 0-34 or something like that, had a terrible record, will now go on to WWE's second biggest show of the year to challenge for the biggest prize in the company in the main event. And surely this is where we will finally see the return of Roman Reigns. And from that point on, this Bloodline story is going to be absolutely amazing. But what is not amazing is the biggest thing, in my opinion, that happened on this show, John Cena's return. But he had his towel that usually says one of his taglines, hustle, loyalty, respect, or whatever it will say. But this time, the towel read, the last time is now, as one of the greatest of all time has revealed that 2025 will be the last year of John Cena, saying that the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania will be his last. After the show, in the press conference, he announced that he will actually be wrestling for the majority of the year, so maybe there will be some big show in Boston at the end of the year that will be his final match. And in 2025, we bid farewell to John Cena. But with that said, let me know what you guys think of Money in the Bank in the comment section below. Do your boy a favor and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know what you guys think should be John Cena's last opponent in the WWE. And with that said, you guys stay smooth.